This is R2D Tech.
And we're back again with yet another exciting video.
We're going to talk about the razerblade, the new laptop from Razer. In terms of design, Razer has changed their design of their main laptop, of their flagship laptop from previous years. They've gone for a more square design, which I like a lot more. It's less like a MacBook now, which is a good thing.
It's quite a sleek looking laptop.
They still kept some of the features that they had in their older laptops, such as the light up logo on the back. The color black is a big theme with Razer. The light up logo on the back is pretty nice. It's a pretty nice logo. They're following what Apple used to do.
It's a statement. If you want to be the sort of person who walks into a room and automatically everyone just turns around. Obviously, I myself, looking as I do, people tend to look at me.
They've also decreased the bezel size. They managed to fit a 15-inch laptop into a 14-inch laptop size. Basically the same size as their previous 14-inch laptops, which is very good. It's very impressive. They're calling it the smallest 15-inch gaming laptop in the world. It's slightly thicker than the MacBook. I'd say about, 3mm thicker, which isn't bad. For a gaming laptop, that is amazing. It's the thinnest gaming laptop you can get. Although they have gone for the square design, you might find that it's slightly harder to fit in your bag than previous models, because it's just, the edges are sharper, you know. It doesn't fit into a rucksack as well.
But that's not a problem for me. I'm someone who carries a big rucksack around, so I don't really mind.
There is a slight difference in thickness depending on which model you get. You can either get the GTX 1060 model, which is slightly thinner than the GTX 1070 model, but it's only a difference of about 1mm, which doesn't really make a difference. But it is there for you to know about.
So on this amazing new Razer gaming laptop, you have a keyboard full of RGB, which is what Razer are known for. You can customize all of this, obviously, through an app on the computer itself. You can do stuff like allowing the keys to light up as you press them,
Which is a pretty cool effect.
and also you can assign different keys, different colors, as you enter different games or apps. This is really cool for gaming, especially. You can light up the arrow keys in red and all of your different buttons in different colors, so you know what to press for different functions.
I use this a lot, so does everyone else who has a Razer laptop.
The next thing to talk about is the actual key travel. Obviously, with the butterfly keyboard scandal with Apple, we're expecting something a lot better from someone like Razer, who are dedicated to gaming. And we're getting that. We're getting a really good key travel where the keys can go down as far as you'd expect on a gaming laptop, so it's really comfortable for pressing them during a game really quickly and really responsively. With the trackpad now, you have a really nice big trackpad. You have really nice gestures like on the MacBooks, if you like that sort of thing.
But
Even though it has Windows Precision drivers, it's not going to be as good as Apple's trackpads on their laptops. I'm not sure why this is, but for some reason Windows can't get their tracking as accurate and as fluid as on the MacBooks. Although with the Razer Blade, you're getting something very, very close to that.
The speakers on the Razer Blade, they're good, but they're definitely not as good as those on the MacBook Pro.
Oh no, he didn't.
In fact, both MacBook Pros, the 15-inch and the 13-inch.
Oh damn!
They just sound a little bit more tinny than Apple's laptops, but it's still good.
I'd say it's one of the best for a Windows laptop. but it's definitely not as good as the MacBooks. They do get very loud, and they're placed either side of the keyboard, which is nice, but it's basically the same as Apple. They're not to my standards.
The display on this computer is really impressive, in my opinion. It's a 15-inch panel. The one that we got in the studio is the 1080p 144Hz refresh rate display. Now, I really like this because with 144Hz, you can play games smooth as butter. But of course, this display is also available if you pay a bit more in 4K, which is really impressive for a laptop these days, even for Apple's standards who don't provide 4K displays at the moment. With the 4K display, you're getting 60 Hz, which isn't as good for gaming, but then the quality of the image itself will be really nice. The thing that you're compromising on is the smoothness of the image.
You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
You're also getting something which I really like, which is touchscreen. So the one we have, the 1080p model, doesn't have touchscreen, which annoys me a bit because lots of laptops like the Surface Book 2 or the Surface Pro these days have touchscreen. It makes it really easy to design stuff, to video edit. But of course, this isn't the standard when Apple don't have touchscreen on any of their computers or laptops. One other thing which I wanted to mention is that Razer have done an amazing job this year at keeping the screen to body ratio really large. You've got really small bezels around the display itself. This makes the laptop look a lot more futuristic and nowadays like modern. Whereas other companies have really big bezels, and of course Razer used to have really big bezels around their display as well. So that's a feature which I really enjoy.
So, in terms of internals, the razerblade we have has a Core i7, which is the top spec, a GTX 1060, 512 gigs of SSD, and 16 gigs of RAM, which is all top spec apart from you can upgrade it to a GTX 1070 GPU if you want. The GTX 1060 will have no issues with gaming. It's very smooth and everything seems to run fine.
16 gigs of RAM is fine as well.
But it would have been nice to see this upgradable directly from Razer to 32 gigs. You can upgrade the RAM if you want yourself. And you can also upgrade the SSD, and this will actually turn out to be cheaper if you opt for the 256 gig model and then upgrade it to however much you want. If you want to get the GTX 1070 model, obviously gaming will be a lot smoother, but it will also cost you around £300 more, which is a pretty big price to pay.
That's the price you pay!
Obviously, the processor and the GPU are not upgradable, so you have to make the right decision at the start.
My colleague
Was just talking about the internals, so the processor, the RAM, so forth. But what's really important if you want all these things to work at full capacity is, of course, the thermals in the laptop. Now, this is all about distributing the heat as quickly as possible so that they don't overheat the components. Overheating the components increases the resistance, as we know. Therefore, none of them can work at full capacity under these conditions. What Razer have done is they've designed their very own thermal distribution unit called the vapor chamber. Now, although I don't exactly know what this means, I'm assuming it's something really good. And seeing it from the inside by watching several videos by Jerry Rig Everything, I can say that it is pretty impressive, and it's definitely many times better than what you get on a MacBook, which is basically no thermal distribution. Now, you also get two metal fans to help with the heat distribution process, and this should increase your gaming experience, for example, or whatever you're doing significantly. One thing that I will say is that if you're thinking about upgrading from the GTX 1060 GPU to the 1070 for gaming experience, it will make a difference. But then the problem is none of these GPUs can work anywhere near full capacity in a laptop. It's impossible at the moment to make these GPUs work at full capacity in a body around like 1.5 centimeters thick. That's why in gaming computers, you have huge fans over these GPUs and processors to distribute the heat. So it might not make such a big difference in a laptop whether you have the GTX 1060 or 1070. Because of the smaller fans and less capable thermal distribution in a laptop compared to a computer, what some people have found, if you refer to Dave Lee's video for example, is that the laptop can get very hot in areas under stress. If you're playing a really graphic intense game for example, using a very large program, you might find the computer gets very hot, and this indicates that it's almost failing to distribute the heat quickly enough, which is a bit of an issue, but Razer's a gaming company and they probably do it best.
In terms of I/O, the Razer Blade comes with 3 USB-A ports, a headphone jack, USB-C with Thunderbolt 3, HDMI, and a display port, which is pretty nice to have lots of ports, unlike the MacBook Pros. The charging port looks like a bigger version of a USB-C port. It's reversible, so you can plug it in either way, but it would be nice to see a more elegant way to charge your laptop, such as MagSafe, but no one's doing that anymore, including Apple.
Battery. This is something that everyone overlooks in laptops. This laptop that we have in the studio, the Razer Blade 15-inch, has an 80 watt-hour battery. Now, this in theory gives you around 5 hours of battery life. From testing, it does give us up to 5 hours battery life. But if you're running a really intense game or program, you'll obviously get quite a lot less than this, maybe 3 hours of battery life. Now on to charging. The charger is, as we'll show you, a rectangular, less rounded design, and it's actually a bit smaller than the last charging adapter. Now this is convenient for traveling, and they also include a strap which is attached to the charging adapter, which is useful so you can wrap up the wires if you're like Linus and put it all together, shove it into the bag and not worry about it.
So, concluding, obviously I like this laptop, I love this laptop, and I think obviously it's a main contender for the MacBook. Now, obviously there are some drawbacks, like it's a little bit heavier, I can feed it a lot more in my bag, but that's a price I'm willing to pay for this amazing laptop. You can play games on the go, you can do video editing on the go, and it's just, it's a powerhouse. That's it from me.
Now for my conclusions. I think this laptop is great. I love how thin and how compact it is, and how they've managed to reduce things like bezels, add vibrancy to displays, have an amazing refresh rate, a GTX 1060 or 1070, amazing specs, 16 gigs of RAM, so forth, so forth.
5 hours later.
Now, you get a bit of a thicker design here, a bit heavier, but then you get much better thermals than, say, on the MacBook, which has honestly crap thermals. And so you can harness the power of your processor, your graphics processing unit, a lot more on this laptop. Obviously, it won't be as good as a full-on gaming computer because it doesn't have a massive fan, but that's the price you have to pay if you want a laptop. The battery life is great, the specs are great, the display is great, the keyboard's really cool, it's got RGB in every single sort of way possible. So that's Razer for you, and I love it. That's it from us at R2D Tech.
Please like and subscribe. Thank you.